In a world of fantasy with demons, monsters, and magical beasts, Ilu opens his eyes for the first time and witnesses the beautiful rays of sun setting up on the horizon. For a moment he is dazed as he has no idea where he is and what he's doing in this weirdly dark place. Suddenly, a divine voice from inside him speaks up, claiming that he has been reborn from his previous life into a brand new world as a dragon. He lays there shocked, wondering whether this is some sort of a weird dream. The divine voice explains that he has the stats of a dragon egg with barely any HP or armor or any other special skills to speak of. He asks the divine voice whether this is some sort of a game, but the voice replies that his level is too low for questions like that. So either he can increase his levels or pay a monthly subscription fee to access the better LLMs. Ilu doesn't accept defeat so easily and asks where the hell is he right now and what exactly is he. But the divine voice is hellbent on getting that subscription no matter what and refuses to answer any of the questions. This causes Ilu to lose his mind just like me when I hear about the RAM prices, and he accidentally knocks himself off and falls from the tree where his nest was. To his absolute horror, his HP pool, which already was small enough, goes down by 1 point as the divine voice explains that if the HP points go down to 0, that means that he will die off forever. Scared by that, he tries to push himself to safety, but instead he ends up pushing himself down a slope and starts tumbling down the hill at record speed. He can't control himself at all and thought that he was going to definitely die. But thankfully, his egg stops at the very edge of a pond, where his life was so close to ending that he could practically see his death after drowning in the pond. Once his breaths got controlled, he gets the opportunity to actually check himself out in the reflection by the water and realizes that he is nothing more than a cracked little egg in the middle of nowhere. He starts freaking out over what the hell is happening, when Siri comes back online and tells him that he is a dragon egg, which is considered to be an F-ranked monster, which is pretty weak in this world. He can straight up die if his eggshell breaks, he has low intelligence thanks to his tiny-ass brain, and the only thing it can do properly is roll around. And he sucks at even that, as he has yet to learn how to control it. Siri explains that although there is a small chance that he can become a fearsome dragon, but the chances of that happening are extremely low since 99% of the dragons are not able to survive the egg stage, as a dragon egg is considered to be a delicacy. Siri claims that it's very common for random adventurers to destroy the egg and make a delicious scramble, but sometimes the adventurers stay away as they are scared that the mother dragon might be nearby. This pisses him off as he realizes that he is nothing but a glorified ball waiting to be popped by the first thing that he encounters. In his rage, he accidentally starts rolling again, but this time he ends up learning how to steer his movements and manages to avoid certain death by turning away from a cliff edge. He manages to weave through the forest with a really good speed and learns how to control himself better. But at the end, he ends up falling down to a small ledge. To his horror, that small fall was enough to get his HP down from 4 to 3, which scares the crap out of him as he remembers that he can basically end his own life without wanting to if he continues at this rate. He decides to chill out for a bit and reconsider his life choices, which to his surprise raises his HP back to full, and with that, he gets ready to conquer the world once again as his egg self. He starts moving through the forest, thinking everything through, and realizes that if he is a dragon egg, he is bound to hatch at some point, which means that he will become a dragon, which are pretty fearsome creatures as far as he can tell. But to do that, will he have to go on quests and earn experience? And whether this world works like an RPG where he will have to fight against other enemies and monsters in order to level up. Suddenly, he spies a spiky-looking tail and immediately tries to figure out what it is, only to find out a weird purple worm-looking creature. He immediately checks the stats of the insect monster and realizes that it's not a very tough monster, but the monster as the gamer tag of being the egg eater. This scares the crap out of him, and he tries to escape without drawing any attention. But he is just as bad as me when it comes to doing stuff right, so he messes up and starts getting chased by the worm. He immediately starts rolling the opposite way, but the monster doesn't seem to be stopping and continues chasing him. He knows that there is no way of fighting against the monster, as all he can do is roll, and even though the worm is weak, it's still much stronger than him, and he would have absolutely zero chance of winning against it. He decides to put his room temperature ick into use and starts leading the monster towards a cliff edge. Turns out that the monster was dumber than you in high school and actually falls for the bait. Ilu immediately pushes it off the cliff, but ends up falling down alongside it. This could have spelled the end for him, but luckily he ends up falling on the monster and not the ground, which cushions him from the worst of it. but still deals a good amount of damage to himself. He rolls over hoping that this would be the end, but the worm gives him one final scare before calling it quits and rolling over to die. Ilu takes a deep breath, thanking God for giving him the chain to live, when suddenly Siri speaks up once again, telling him that he got a bunch of points for killing the monster, and also surviving the fall, which maxed his level cap at level 5. And for gaining further levels, he first needs to undergo evolution. Siri shows him 2 routes to go on the evolution tree, one being the baby dragon, and one being the little dragon. He is a little confused about the difference between the 2 breeds, but thankfully Siri comes through with the explanation and tells him that the little dragon is a fearsome breed of dwarf dragons who are smaller compared to other dragon species, but are pretty strong and can grow as big as a bear. The adventurers avoid them as they are afraid of the fire-breathing attack. Compared to that, the baby dragon is simply a dragon baby which is known for its tender meat and oftentimes hunted by adventurers and other monsters, as they are easy to catch and make up for an incredibly stew. On the off chance that the baby dragon survives to be an adult, they can actually grow up to be a wide variety of very strong dragon breeds, but most of them never live to see that day. Ilu realizes that the world is too damn depressive, and at first thinks about going the route to become a little dragon, cause that will mean that he can be safe from the get-go and won't have to worry about getting no-scoped the moment he walks near a monster or an adventurer. He was about to choose the little dragon when suddenly his inner voice clicks in and tells him to go for the baby dragon. At first even he was confused, not knowing why exactly would the baby dragon would be a better choice. But suddenly he realizes that the little dragon is basically a short king, which means that his chances of getting a match on Tinder is slim to none. Whereas if he becomes a baby dragon and manages to become 6 feet plus, he would get all the huzz and would be swimming in Mad Kitty. The moment he chooses to be a baby dragon, something changes within him and the egg hatches, and he emerges as a yellow dragon hatchling and realizes that his stats seem to have gone up. But his HP is still not full, which means he needs to ease up and rest so he can regain everything back. He turns towards the worm and thanks him for his evolution when suddenly his stomach starts grumbling. This confuses him as he is not Bear Grylls and can't eat shit and piss for survival. But he thinks about all the huzzes he can rizz up with his height, so he decides to go for it as he needs the protein. He starts devouring the entire worm and then takes a long deep sleep to recover all the HP he lost. The next day when he wakes up, he thinks about his dream where he was still a human and starts wondering how exactly did he get reincarnated here, and who exactly he was back when he used to be a human. Before he could think all that through though, he turns around to find a bunch of worm monsters getting ready to attack him. Since he is now a dragon, though, he decides to take them on and starts absolutely destroying them with the moves he learned in Dagestan after his father sent him for 2-3 years and forgot. With every single kill, he gains more experience points and soon ends up unlocking even more offensive capabilities. He starts using his fire breath to roast any monsters that come in his way and soon levels up to level 7, gaining the ability of a dragon punch, which lets him cover his fist in a fireball and destroy any monster who comes in front of him. After finishing the last monster with a chokehold, his stomach starts rumbling once again. He thinks about eating worms again, but he doesn't feel like starting his day with dogshit food, so he decides to try something else and goes on the Mike Tyson diet of shrooms. Unfortunately, not everyone is built like Iron Mike, and Ilu starts puking like my ex on a girl's only night out before she goes to a stranger's house. He decides that he needs to find a new source of food, as no way in hell is he going to a damn ugly assworm. Just then he spots a gray wolf running ahead in front of him, and he immediately decides to throw hands. He starts running alongside the wolf, and even though the animal was bigger than him, Ilu knew that he will win thanks to his superior stats. He doesn't even give the wolf a chance to do anything, as Ilu uses his dragon breath to incapacitate the wolf, followed by a fiery punch which utterly destroys the wolf and turns him into a slow roast. He wonders whether the taste would be like a barbecue, and to his surprise the taste is just like a grilled steak. This gives him another reason to start hunting these animals, and finally finds another old wolf that he smokes with a single fiery punch and starts roasting with the help of his fiery breath. He realizes that if he can level up till level 25, that would give him the opportunity to evolve once again. While eating his meal alone, he starts wanting someone to talk to who is not a damned AI assistant. And just then he overhears some voices coming from the forest. He realizes that these voices are definitely those of humans and immediately rushes off to investigate. He soon spots a group of 3 adventurers walking through the jungle and checks their stats, realizing that none of them are above his levels, which means they shouldn't pose a threat to him. But because there are 3 of them, they can definitely overwhelm him. He decides to take the risk though, as he thinks he is too cute for humans to not like him, and they would probably want to be friends with him. Thinking that, he emerges from behind the tree and immediately starts acting all cute, hoping that the humans will immediately fall in love with him. But he gets a cruel realization when the leader of the group grabs his sword and delivers an aerial slash that hits him squarely on the chest, pushing him to the ground as blood trickles down his body. Before he could even think about escaping, he gets hit by the magician's spell, which delivers him a shock strong enough to completely make his body numb. He thinks about what a dumb idiot he has been for thinking that he can trust the humans, and now he will have to pay the price by giving away his life. He tries to creep away, but it's of no use as his body can't even move an inch. He gets ready to die, but as the leader gets ready to stab him to death, the healer girl jumps in between and saves his life. The leader has an argument with him, but then he leaves her be and moves ahead. The girl named Murph starts casting a healing spell on him and slowly but surely heals him back to enough health that he can move around. Before he could even properly thank her though, they hear a blood-curdling scream coming from the direction where the other adventurers went, and Ilu is sure that something has gone really wrong and that a powerful monster is nearby in the area. The healer immediately turns around and tries to run in the same direction, but Ilu stops her as he knows that whatever monster is hiding inside the forest is stronger than her and is probably going to kill her as well, especially because she already used all her mana to heal him. He is too weak from the injuries, though Somer slips past and tells him to take care before rushing in the forest. Ilu curses himself for being so helpless and useless. He somehow manages to power through his paralysis and starts running in the forest when he suddenly comes face to face against a giant rock dragon, which is at least 10 times as strong as himself. He spots the girl lying on the ground unconscious near its feet, but before he could even try to help, the dragon smells him out and turns around to end his life, once and for all. Ilu is too stunned to move as fear grips his body, while the stone dragon lunges at him with his entire body. To his surprise, Ilu's body seemingly moves on its own instinctively and saves him from certain death as he jumps out of the way. He immediately hides behind some bushes while thinking about how stupid he was to think that even if he fought alongside the humans they could have defeated this monstrosity. He knows that if he takes any major hits from that monster, he is definitely going to get erased from the face of this planet. He peeks over to find Myria and realizes that she is still alive and is clinging on to life with barely any HP. To his horror, the rock dragon decides to move back towards Mar in order to finish her off, which makes him forget all about his fears and he gets ready to try and save her. Before he could rush at the monster though, the divine voice urges him to run away, claiming that interaction would not be worth it, and there is a good amount of chance that he will not survive this altercation. This stops him in his tracks as he thinks about how Siri is correct, as he has no skills or ability which can help him deal with this monstrosity, and the safest choice would be to simply run away and live to fight another day. Before he could make a decision though, the memory of Mer saving his life and healing him rushes into his brain, and he decides that he is not leaving her alone, and he is either going to save her or die trying. He rushes at the dragon, and when the dragon tries to attack him, he remembers his skills as an egg and starts rolling around, which saves his life. And he jumps in the air, before bonking into the dragon a little and creating some distance between them. He immediately checks around for the other humans in the party and realizes that the old mage is dead and nothing can be done about it. But the swordsman seems to be still hanging on to his life with slim margin. The rock dragon starts chasing Ilu once again, but he is good at rolling around and starts evading the monster and hitting it back to back in the hopes of buying some time and saving the remaining adventurers. Just when he thought that his plan seems to be working, and maybe he could save the humans, the rock dragon hits him with an earth-bending spell which creates a shockwave through the ground, creating huge spikes that hit Ilu and knock him down to the ground. He realizes that he can't keep evading the attacks and decides to fight back. The rock dragon tries to attack him, but this time Ilu goes on the counteroffensive and tries to land a blazing fiery punch to its face, hoping to get a critical hit. At first he thought that the attack was effective, but to his horror, he realizes that not only did the attack barely do any damage, but the dragon seems to be recovering his lost HP all over again. He still uses this opportunity to immediately grab the Huz as he knows he can only save one person at the time. He immediately starts running away from the monster after dodging its attack and runs straight into the deep jungle and puts her down to safety. He realizes that she is still losing HP and he must find a way to get her health back up. He tries to replicate what the girl did before to heal him, but obviously nothing happens. He immediately decides to change the plan and find a proper place where the girl can be safer from the elements before night comes. He starts sniffing the air kissed by the sunset as he tries to find a familiar scent to follow. Suddenly, he picks up a faint smell of humans coming from a direction and immediately starts following at full speed while carrying the girl on his back. His horror doesn't seem to end as a pack of gray wolves start chasing him around in the hopes of getting some quick and easy food. Ilu has come too far at this point, and he is not going to get devoured by a bunch of glorified puppies after literally surviving a damn dragon. He puts the huzz down near the tree and turns around to deal with the wolves. Usually, he dealt with wolves one at a time, but this time he was forced to fight against a whole pack, that too when he was already injured. He fights off against all the wolves valiantly and continues to defend the girl at the cost of his own body as he keeps getting hit, but manages to fend off the wolves and takes her on his back again. Moving through the forests, bruised and battered, about to reach his limit, he soon finds his way back to a human village, which makes him happy, as all he needs to do now is get Mer some help, so she can regain her health. He starts screaming on top of his lungs and manages to attract a bunch of villagers to his location. Unfortunately for him, the villagers can't understand what he is saying and are scared of him. He tries to make them understand that he means no harm, but one of them shanks him in the leg with a homemade spear. He realizes that he will find no help here, as the entire village sees him as a threat. He quickly puts her back to the ground and immediately starts running away as the villagers get ready to attack him once again. He manages to dodge everyone and escapes back into the forest, while the villagers quickly get Mer to safety and call for the local healer to help her. Ilu is happy that at the very least he saves her life and starts limping back into the forest. Mer wakes up 2 days later at the house of the local healer named Marie, who tells her that she was knocked out for 2 days straight. Mer wonders who exactly brought her back to the village, as she was damn sure she would have died there. But Marie claims that she has no idea about that. Mer asks where are the other party members, and Marie replies that the old mage is dead, while their leader, Daz, was never found on the scene, which means that he probably got devoured by the dragon with only blood around the area as evidence. Mer immediately starts crying, claiming that if she stopped Daz from going ahead, he might still have been alive. But Marie tells her not to worry, as Daz was not a person who would listen to others. Mo remembers that Daz was a little brash, but he was a nice person, and was always the first to take any monsters who tried to threaten the village. He was also good with children and always gave them good advice. The only problem was his obsession with the rock dragon, because when he was younger, he encountered the dragon and ended up running away. That's when he decided to take on the monster and kill it to remove any questions that anyone might have had about him. He decides to take on the old mage and his team, but knew that Marie would never allow or agree to go with them as the healer, so they tricked Mer by claiming that Marie told them to take her instead. Mer was not willing to go as the rock dragon is too dangerous to tackle, but with some emotional blackmail they managed to coax her to get in their party. She regrets her decision of not alerting the other villagers, but there is nothing she could do now. She remembers a faint memory of the dragon that she saved, helping her reach back the village, but Marie has no idea how she got here, and she just knows that there was a monster attacking her, but she blondie villager managed to save her with his spear. Back in the forest, Ilu finally managed to revive his HP and is feeling much better now. He wonders how Mer is and whether she has recovered, but also remembers the sense of powerlessness he felt in the face of the rock dragon, which reminds him that he is still one of the weakest things in this forest and must grow strong as quickly as possible. He soon decides to use his brain more and uses a worm monster as bait and hangs it from the tree. Immediately, a bunch of worms from the area gather to see what's up, and Ilu uses that opportunity to punch them to shit. He continues to destroy each and every monster that came in his way, whether by punching them, or biting them, or using his fire attacks to roast them into a crisp. Once he was done with the slaughter, he finally managed to reach level 25, which means that he has achieved another point in his evolution. Siri shows him the evolution tree, and he realizes that he has 5 choices going ahead. Some of them are little dragons, which he is definitely not choosing, even though they mature early, but in the long run they won't be as strong as compared to the others. The angel dragon is very strong, but mostly has defensive and healing capabilities just like Mer had. The kid dragon is the next direct evolution step from the baby dragon, and he would soon surely become an adult dragon if he keeps at it. And the other option is a mutated kid dragon which has better magic spells. Finally, the last option is the Dark Plague Dragon, which is known for causing death and destruction, and can transform into humans at will. At first, Ilu immediately rejects the option of the plague dragon since that would be the more evil path. But suddenly he realizes that human transformation means that he can actually go to the human village and reunite with Mer once again. With this, he starts mulling over his decision, stressed out as this decision would be one of the most important decisions of his life. The confusion about what path he should choose for his evolution starts driving Ilu mad, and he starts making sounds like my constipated dog as he tries to come to a conclusion. In the end, he decides that he is really worried about Mer and wants to see her again. He feels that if he can learn human transformation skill, he can live a good life even if he is a plague dragon. And if that doesn't work out like most startups on Shark Tank, he can go back to being a dragon. With that, Ilu chooses to become a young plague dragon, and his color scheme changes from yellow to purple. He becomes something that looks like the Mega Charizard Y, and he feels that he does indeed look quite evil. He begins doing a double take on his decision, but then Siri tells him that his skill view status has leveled up, and now he can see the details of his skills. Ilu immediately gets rid of his doubts on hearing that, and Siri tells him that he has unlocked more skills called Fly and Dragon Scale Powder. His typing has changed to Dark, and now his normal skills have evolved to have Poison and Curse element damage. He has also got some titles called Wrongdoer and Calamity, and the more Ilu hears about that, the more he regrets choosing this form. On top of that, he didn't get the promised human transformation skill, and just like any Karen, Ilu starts lashing at Siri and asking to see her manager. He says that this is not what he was told and asks if he needs to level up to receive the human transformation skill. However, Siri once again hides that feature behind paywall and tells Ilu that she can't answer that question unless he buys the premium subscription. Ilu feels disappointed and scammed because he has become a flying calamity instead of a human. However, the silver lining is that he can now see the details of his own skills, and the first thing he decides to check out is Siri, officially named Divine Voice. Well, Siri gatekeeps that data as usual, and Ilu was low-key expecting that. He then asks her about the new skill Dragon Scale Powder, and Siri tells him that he can release toxic scales from his wings that can seriously weaken any living creature and even kill them. At the max level, he can wipe out entire nations just by flying over them. Ilu sees the example of that instantly as a flower near him shrivels and dies because of his scale powder, and he curses Siri for making him a bioweapon when he just wanted to become human and rizz up the huzz. Now he is sure that no human will try to come close to him, and then begins checking out other skills that are just as fearsome. The next skill is Diseased Breath that changes his fire breath into an attack that spreads diseases that are extremely lethal and can wipe out entire civilizations at max level. Ilu starts panicking because he can't get any more ready for being a villain than this, and wonders if there is any way he can change his evolution now. He decides to check his titles because they might influence his skills and growth, and Siri tells him that he is right. His first title is the Itty Bitty Hero, which is given to those who show a small amount of courage and do the right thing in face of danger. It may greatly influence his evolution direction, and one day make him a true hero. Ilu is relieved to hear that, but then he hears the details about his other titles. The title Wrongdoer is for villains who leave a mountain of corpses behind them and take pride in their body count. It increases the damage of dark-type attacks and makes it difficult to learn white magic spells. It also reduces recovery rate and has a great influence on his evolution path. This is the final nail in the coffin for Ilu, and he begins whining and crying that he wants to return to being a baby dragon again. Back in the village, Marie is checking the warding stones placed all around the village to make sure they are working properly. Those stones create a barrier that subconsciously discourages monsters from entering the village. But they can't work against strong-willed monsters or monsters that have a goal. Mer thinks that the dragon who saved her life must come in that category, but she is not sure if he really wanted to save her or was that a coincidence. Marie can't comment on that because she didn't see the dragon, but she doesn't want monsters to enter the village because of a faulty barrier. She finishes recharging all the ward stones, and then suddenly, Mer asks her to teach her more about monsters. Marie is curious about why Mer is so interested in monsters ever since that incident. Ma replies that she feels that a dragon saved her the other day, and Marie asks her if she is developing feelings for a monster, because that is gross. Mer panics and says it is nothing like that, and Marie decides to let it go. She agrees that Mer should learn about monsters and starts explaining that monsters can defeat other creatures to level up and evolve into more powerful monsters. Humans also have the system to level up and improve their skills, but they cannot evolve into a new species like monsters. Mer is surprised by this and says that she has never heard this before, but this makes Marie mad because she taught all this to her 11 years ago. Mer argues that she was only 5 years old at that time and 11 years might not be a big deal for an elf, but it is a lot for humans. Marie continues her lecture, saying that from time to time, there are special people who can hear a divine voice, and they are the ones who found about leveling up and other things. Marie says that monsters fight to survive, and they always try to become stronger through evolution, because that helps them live longer. She tells Mer that the dragon might have saved her life, but the next time she meets him, he will have evolved into something more dangerous and might even attack her. Mer yells at Marie for scaring her like this, but the elf lady just tells her not to have any expectations from a monster because they are not compatible with humans. At the same time, Ilu has accepted his fate in the forest, and he decides to level up as quickly as he can to turn back to the path of being a good dragon. However, his main priority is still turning into a human so that he can meet Mer again. He begins searching for a weak monster that will drop a lot of experience points when suddenly, he feels his movements becoming slower. Ilu realizes that he is covered in webs that are slowing him down, and only after that does he realize that he walked into a trap laid by a spider. Just then, a huge spider jumps out of the bushes and hisses at him. Ilu freaks out on seeing that it has very high stats compared to him, but he can't run away because he is trapped. The spider squirts a bunch of webs from its butt towards Ilu, who counters it with his fire breath, burning the web and also dealing damage to the spider. However, the web covering his body also catches fire, and he rolls on the ground until Ciri tells him that he has acquired the skill Flame Resistance. Ilu gets up to fight and finds that his attack didn't do much damage to the spider, so he decides to use his paralyzing claws against it. And despite numerous slashes that cause the spider to bleed, Ilu finds that it still has half of its health bar full. On top of that, the spider monster is enraged and Ilu decides to run away while it is still paralyzed. He starts rolling away speedily, but the spider monster recovers from the paralysis quickly and catches up to him. Ilu panics, but then remembers that he can fly using his new skill. He immediately jumps as high as he can and tries to fly away, but even a chicken with one wing can do better. He is back on the ground in no time because he can't use his skill properly yet, and in the end, he has to rely on rolling again. However, even after 10 minutes, the spider hasn't given up and Ilu wonders just how much stamina the damned monster has. Luckily, his rolling skill levels up just then, and now he can roll much faster. He also gets the title of Chicken Runner for running away like a coward. But Ilu values his life more than his pride. Soon, he is able to put some gap between himself and the spider, but then sees a wide cliff in front of him. Ilu's first instinct is to roll away to the side, but then he decides to trust his flight skill and leaps ahead at full speed. Thankfully, he is able to glide to the other side, and swears that once he is strong enough, he will return to end the spider's life. He is really exhausted now and decides to look at the spider one last time before taking off. However, the spider is nowhere to be seen, and then suddenly, Ilu sees a bridge made out of webs. The very next moment, the spider leaps to the surface and Ilu panics because he was not expecting this. He starts rolling away again, and his rolling skill levels up yet another time. An unfortunate gray wolf appears in his path and Ilu just rolls right at it, sending it flying and gaining bonus experience from defeating it like this. He goes directly to level 3 and keeps doing hit and runs on the clueless monsters in the forest, reaching level 8 in no time. Ilu thinks that he is finally strong enough to take on the spider now, so he stops running and faces it head on. The spider suddenly ejects a gust of poisonous gas from its body and Ilu jumps to a tree to avoid it. Even though he is resistant to poison, it really hurts his throat, and he decides to wait for the poison to clear. Meanwhile, the spider is waiting for the poison to kick in too, and Ilu gets an idea. He decides to use the oldest trick in the book and begins acting like the poison is weakening him. He falls to the ground and starts writhing like a fish out of water before acting completely still. The spider takes the bait and jumps on him, and just as he gets close enough, Ilu hits him with a full power fire breath and then slams him to the ground with his tail. The spider monster is defeated with that, and Ilu reaches level 14 immediately. His fire breath skill levels up, and he also gets a new skill called Dragon Tail. Ilu thinks that they are good developments, but he is more excited to see if he got the skill to become a human. Unfortunately, he doesn't get anything else and his frustration grows even more intense. At the end of the day, Ilu hunts a wolf and takes it with him to eat and rest. On the way, he finds a cave, and after he makes sure that no other monster is using it, he decides to make it his base. He roasts the wolf meat there and then decides to add the juice of some berries that smell like black pepper. Ilu finds that the berry juice really makes the meat taste better, and he even gets the title Mr. Chef for it. Ilu feels that the title has a nice ring to it, and he begins wondering if he can level up his cooking and win over humans with his delicious food. However, just one glance at his sharp poisonous claws makes him think otherwise. He feels that he was at least cute when he was a baby dragon, and the humans hated and feared him even then. Now that he literally looks like a menace, there is no chance they will even dare to come close to him. He feels that not even Mer will recognize him now, and thinks that this is what he gets for getting greedy and trying to become a human. He yells at the sky, asking God to at least give him the human transformation skill, even if he is going to keep evolving as a plague dragon. Back in the village, Mer learns from an old drunkard that Dawes is still alive. She eagerly asks him to tell her all the details, and the old man tells her that he was out fishing when he saw Dawes walking in the woods, looking exhausted and famished. He didn't notice anything and kept muttering to himself before vanishing into the forest. Other villagers think that the old geezer was just hungover and imagined Dawes, but Mer gets hopeful and immediately goes to Marie to talk about it. She wants to go to the forest to search for Dawes, but Marie refuses to put her or any other villagers in danger. She makes Mer give up on the idea as well by suggesting that she will talk to the Adventurers Guild about it. But she knows how much Mer wants to save Dawes if he is really alive. Next day in the forest, Ilu wakes up refreshed, and he decides to hunt more monsters to level up quickly. Suddenly, he sees a moving puddle in front of him and realizes that it is a monster that doesn't look strong. He decides to hunt it to farm experience, but as he tries to view its stats, his eyes start burning and Siri tells him that he can't access this information yet. Ilu starts screaming in pain and wonders what the hell is the weird monster that can hurt him so much just by looking at it. Suddenly, his skill to view status levels up, and he can briefly see that the slime monster has ridiculously high stats, and he falls to the ground in shock. Ilu wonders what kind of creature has such insane stats, when suddenly, the monster slime notices him and shoots a tentacle in his direction. Ilu manages to run away just in time, and once he reaches the forest, he realizes that the creepy slime didn't actually have that high stats, and he misread things earlier. However, it is too creepy, so he decides to leave it alone for the time being. He decides to search for his targets in another direction today when he suddenly notices a pot hidden in the bushes. Ilu thinks that it might be good to keep fruits, but as soon as he touches it, the pot jumps him in the air because it is not an object but a monster called Potortus. Ilu sees that its stats are nothing special, so he attacks the Potortus with a flame punch, but that doesn't do any significant damage. This motivates Ilu to give it his all, and he bombards the monster with attacks. However, the pot monster has reached peak nonchalant, and it recovers HP by resting even when Ilu is attacking it. No matter what he does, the hard shell of the monster protects it from all damage, so Ilu decides to switch to creative mode. He throws the monster into the river, and that works as the monster sinks to its death. Ilu gets the experience points from it and levels up, but he gets a new title called Dastardly King, and his wrongdoer title levels up as well. He feels bad about going even further on the villain route when suddenly, a bunch of pot monsters surround him. Ilu realizes that they came when the first monster used the cry skill to summon them, and they are all really angry. They huddle together and Ilu thinks they are going to transform into some sort of ultimate monster, but instead, they transform into a tall tower that looks really unstable. Ilu flies up and picks the topmost monster before dunking it on the tower, and defeating all the monsters in one go. He learns a new skill called Meteorite by doing that along with 600 experience points that takes him straight to level 30. His skills also level up as a result, and he is happy about that. But unfortunately, the shells break after he defeats the monsters, and he doesn't have a single usable pot. He decides to use the monsters for meat instead, but then starts thinking that he needs more veggies in his diet. As he walks ahead, he sees the sky looking purple and some weird footsteps coming from nearby. Ilu gets curious and follows the direction of the footsteps that lead him to a bear that is minding its own business and going on a stroll. Ilu asks Siri about his stats, and she tells him that he is too far away to see its stats, but he can see details about its species. The bear is a D+ rank monster called a clay bear. It is made out of mud, and is powerful with a high recovery rate. Ilu realizes that the monster is at the same rank as him, and he wonders if he can defeat it in a fair fight. However, the bigger reason he wants to fight the clay bear is because if it is really made out of clay, he can use it to make pots and other stuff. Ilu can't let this golden chance get away from his toxic paws, and he chases after the bear monster, who doesn't seem to notice him at all. He decides to launch a sneak attack and lunges at the clay bear from behind, but it turns around at the last moment, showing deadly spikes erupting from its chest. Ilu barely avoids getting stabbed by those spikes, and he jumps back, saying that the monster doesn't deserve to be called a bear with those deadly spikes. the bear decides to body slam Ilu, who dodges and hits him with a rolling attack. He manages to take down a good chunk of its health bar, but the bear immediately uses a heal skill to restore the health bar fully. Ilu realizes that he can't one-shot the bear, and he can only rely on hit-and-run tactics till it is out of mana to heal itself. He keeps on dodging the clay bear's deadly spikes while dealing damage to it, and when he thinks that its healing factor is slowing down, Ilu moves in for a finishing blow. Suddenly, the clay bear creates a sandstorm around itself, and when the storm ends, it has spikes on its back too. Ilu calls the clay bear a hacker, because now he has no way to use his roll attack. Luckily, the clay bear has lost most of its mana after fighting for too long and using heavy skills, and Ilu decides to wear him down just a bit more. Suddenly, the bear tears off its arm and yeets it at Ilu, who dodges it and finds that the arm turns into normal clay after separating from the main body. The clay bear keeps shooting spikes at him that turn to clay as well, and Ilu suddenly gets an idea. He charges ahead at the bear and uses his claws to tear off its arm. It turns to clay as usual, and Ilu quickly rolls it into a ball and then flies high up. He thinks that if he hits the clay bear with a meteorite skill, it won't be enough, so he decides to improvise and puts his entire body weight behind the meteorite skill. The attack manages to tear through the clay bear's body, and Ilu earns 300 experience points that take him to level 33. He also gets a skill called Nutcracker because that is what he did just now. He is really exhausted now, but at least he has got some clay that he uses to make pots and jars. He also makes a furnace and then puts the pots there to be baked, and in the meantime decides to catch some dinner. He decides to forage for some veggies and mushrooms, and finds a thunder mushroom that is nutritious and tasty, but it has a mild paralyzing poison. Ilu is not resistant to paralysis yet, so he throws it away and then thanks his leveled up Siri for giving him more details. After that, he comes across a giant flower, but just as he is about to appraise it, the flower attacks him. Ilu panics, but then manages to tear the flower from its stem, killing it. Siri tells him that it is a carnivorous plant that eats animals, but it can't digest salt and deposits it in its root. That is the most valuable thing Ilu could find to improve his dining experience, and he takes the salt-filled bulb home. On the other hand, Mor disobeys Marie and steps beyond the barrier that protects the village to find Dawes. She is ready to face any risks as long as she can find him and bring him back safely, even though she doubts that the old drunk can be trusted. She remembers how Dawes blackmailed her into joining his party and thinks that if she had just stopped him, both he and the old guy would be alive now. Suddenly, a worm monster attacks her, and Mor immediately uses a fireball to defeat it, and reminds herself to stay calm no matter what happens. Meanwhile, Ilu finds a huge monster mushroom that can walk and attack people after reaching maturity, and it tastes quite delicious. He adds it to his list of ingredients and then finds another weird mushroom, and Siri tells him that it is a rank mushroom that is really valuable and it can support the economy of an entire nation if cultivated properly. Ilu starts dreaming of rolling in cash after hearing that, but when Siri tells him that the mushroom is a potent drug that can get everyone addicted to it, he immediately changes his mind. He burns the mushrooms away so that no one can fall to addiction, and his title of Itty Bitty Hero levels up. After that, he finds pepperberries in the wild, and Siri tells him that once upon a time, it was the most sought-after spice in the world, and it was worth its weight in gold. Ilu immediately harvests all the pepper, and at the same time, Mor ventures deep into the forest, hiding from monsters somehow. She realizes that she is too deep in the danger zone already, and if she walks further, she might face something out of her league. So she decides to head home after looking at the outskirts of the village again. Later that night, Ilu uses the light mushroom to lighten up his cave and then checks out the pots he had set to bake. They are made perfectly, and he uses them to prepare a stew with the ingredients he has collected today. Thanks to salt and mushrooms, the food tastes even better, and Ilu begins talking like he is a food critic even though he basically knows nothing about cooking. He talks about how the salt is bringing out the umami flavors of the dish, and then creates chopsticks to eat, which are already the trickiest way to eat food even if you have human hands instead of dragon claws. Thanks to putting salt in the dish, Ilu's title as a chef goes from level 1 to level 2. He suddenly notices that the bowl he is using is a bit difficult to drink from, and it spills some of the stew as well. He decides to level up his pottery skills as well and plans to make a new bowl as well as other cutlery items the next day. He even starts dreaming of coating the barren walls of the cave with clay bricks, and Siri tells him that he has earned the title of ceramic artisan too now. The next day, a carriage heads to the village next to the forest, and two pretty adventurers come out of it to investigate the forest. They wonder if they can really find a survivor in the forest, but the guild has given them a job, so they need to complete it. Back in the forest, Ilu has started to furnish his cave with clay furniture. He hunts the wolves and brings them back to the cave to process them. One side of his cave is full of the fur he took out from the wolves, and Ilu decides to dry it later, because first he needs to season the meat and leave it to dry for colder seasons. He is pretty satisfied with his progress and thinks that he is getting used to this new world, but as he goes outside to collect the meat jerky, he finds monkeys eating it. Ilu gets furious and chases the monkeys away, but that makes him realize that he needs to find a permanent solution to this problem, or he will lose all his meat reserves. He gets an idea and decides to cook up high-grade poison like the Great Walter White so that he can coat the meat jerky in it and kill the monkeys. While he is busy collecting dangerous ingredients from all over the forest, Ilu suddenly realizes that now he can tell apart poisonous mushrooms and plants just by glancing at them without Ciri's help, which is the first instance of humans taking AI jobs. After that, he stumbles on a flower field and decides to take some flowers to decorate his cave because there should be at least one pretty thing to look at in everyone's life. However, as he is daydreaming about a pretty cave, a cute little monster pops up in front of him. Ilu is taken aback to see it and asks Ciri about it. He learns that the cute mongoose is called the Poison Princess and all of its skills revolve around poison. Ilu is a bit terrified of it, but the monster seems scared as well and runs away. Suddenly, a piece of clay falls nearby, distracting Ilu, and using that chance, the Poison Princess bites him and then runs away. Ilu can't understand its strategy until the poison starts to show effect. He feels incredibly weak and can't move the shoulder where he was bitten, and Ciri tells him that his poison resistance skill has leveled up. Ilu realizes that the Poison Princess has much stronger poison than anything he has ever faced, and he passes out as the little monster snickers menacingly. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.